Hey everyone, Dockwell here, and welcome to another video. Today's video is going to be an offlane tier list for patch 7.30e, and like I said in the carry and mid videos, this is a meta that's evolved over the last 3 months, and I thought a patch was going to come out sometime, but we pretty much just had the Marcy patch, and that was it, and not too many changes, but surprisingly, the meta has kind of shifted and evolved since then, so this is just going to be that patch video, and like I said in the other videos, I guarantee you that a patch is going to drop in the next week, pretty much only because I'm doing these videos now. But regardless, let's just jump into the tier list video for Offlane. Before we jump into the video, I just wanted to say if you like this video, like, comment, subscribe, all of those kinds of things, it really helps. And if you want to see more content into the future, please consider clicking the Patreon link down below and going to my Patreon, signing up for coaching, or just supporting me in general for that $5 or $10 a month. It really, really helps because for whatever reason, YouTube has not monetized my channel. So I make absolutely no money for making all this content. So in order to keep up making content in the future, if you guys really like it and you want to see more of it, please consider supporting if you can. Now that we got that out of the way, let's jump back to the video. So I'll start this video off the same way I did the other ones and let you know that the way I come up with the list is basically I put everything where I think it should go just to get a general idea of what I think the meta is. And then I look at the pick rates and win rates on, Dota buff and here on this trends tab. And I just kind of do that for the divine and immortal level bracket. They're all kind of mashed into one. And then I also look at Dota 2 Pro Tracker and the pro matches that have recently been played and look at picks and bans there. And then I kind of mash everything together and put it where I think would be best. So it is a little bit subjective, so you can let me know where you think things should be changed. But I will say that it is based on, statistics and those kinds of things as well. And mainly that, even if a win rate is low, if the pick rate is really high in pubs and stuff, that's going to mean that the hero is higher. If the win rate's pretty high, but the pick rate is low, that means it's going to be a little bit lower. So that's just how I do things in general and how to judge this tier list. But anyway, let's just jump into the tier list. And first, we're going to take a look at S tier and the obvious S tier hero. This might be the hero that's above and beyond all the other heroes. It's kind of at a tier on its own is Spirit Breaker. And this hero has not really seen play in pro matches or even pro level pubs for years, for a long time. I don't know that it's almost ever been picked, but right now this hero is just absolutely insane. It's like God tier because it just does so much. One, you can play it as a core because now you can farm with max and greater bash, and basically when you hit creeps, they just all die. So that's really, really good. So you can actually get farm on this hero, which you usually weren't able to do. And then you can just have this insane map presence, and you're pretty much never able to die to single target stuns with bulldoze because of this ridiculous status resistance. And now you also have a break that's applied. You have a built-in BKB. You have all these different tools at your disposal to just destroy people, and you can do crazy amounts of damage. You can just blow people up. It doesn't matter, how many items the carry has. You can still kill them. Obviously, if they get a Lincoln's, that's a kind of a counter to you, but even that is not going to be that big of a deal. You can just destroy people in pubs with this hero. And I think even, in pro level matches and higher than that, this hero is absolutely ridiculous right now. I think it does everything that Spirit Breaker does. It just has a little bit of extra stuff with all the Ags and the Ags Shard, and the fact that you can farm now with greater bash, and then obviously the things that were always OP now since they introduced the status resistance. This hero is just absolutely ridiculous. Just does so much. It just does the Spirit Breaker things, just the typical stuff, but just does it way better than it ever has, and it's just super OP right now. So if you're going to win games from offlane or maybe even forward position, Spirit Breaker is really the pick right now. This hero is so overpowered. So that's Spirit Breaker. Next, we're going to look at Outworld Destroyer. So OD is a hero that is also played mid. I had him in the mid tier list as he's a top tier pick right now. This hero is just ridiculous. You just rush your Meteor Hammer and you just destroy everybody in the game. You just take towers. Same thing with Offlane. Yeah, you're not getting as much experience, but it doesn't really matter. You just want to get your last hits, get your hammer, and then pretty much every carry in the game has to leave the lane. You just take the lane, you just take the tower in the lane, you just farm up, and then you go mid, you take that tower, and you just basically win the game from there. This hero is just absolutely ridiculous. If you don't have somebody that can kill it or stun it from long range or, interrupt the channeling or anything like that, this hero just snowballs the game. And really from the mid lane, this hero is good because all the different things, all the experience and the gold and stuff like that, but you can potentially pick heroes in mid like Puck, like I mentioned in the mid video, that can counter this hero, or can be good against the hero at least. But really, honestly, there aren't many carries that can lane against OD once you get the hammer. I can't even really think of that many, if any. There's really not very many carries that have just that innate ability. Like maybe Slark sort of, because he can, packed off the stun and stuff, but even that is not very good, because even if you do that, you're taking damage. He can right click you and then you can ult the Slark and he just dies. It's just, or maybe Lifesteal or maybe Jug, these heroes, I guess, with built-in BKBs can still be good, but even then it's still not that great. Especially because any of those heroes, you can just Astral, yourself, you can Astral them if they don't have their BKB pop. It's so hard to lane against this hero, and he can just dominate the game. It's just ridiculous for all the same ways that I mentioned in the mid video. And lastly here, this might be more controversial in that it's like, doesn't seem like a top pick, but I think it really is right now, and that's Night Stalker. It's getting picked a lot. It's getting picked like every game. It has a very, very high pick rate if it's not banned, even in pro level pubs. I've played it a lot as offlane recently, and I think this hero just stomps. It's just so good. I think the thing about this hero is obviously you have to play around the timing. You have to play around daytime. In that first 5 minutes, there's just not that much that's going to be able to stop you from laning, at least to some extent, for the first 5 minutes. And then for the next 5 minutes, you just dominate the lane. As long as you didn't get dumpstered and, your support didn't feed, you're just going to crush the lane. It's the same thing with OD. A lot of carries just have to straight up leave the lane when it hits 5 minutes because you're just that powerful. And then you go around the map with like your Blink Dagger, with BKB, with all this stuff. You just absolutely destroy supports. You can also catch a lot of the good heroes. You can catch Queen of Pain. You can catch Tinker. You can just catch a lot of heroes that are like mobile, and a lot of these good heroes in this patch. And you can just kill a lot of supports. You're just very, very good throughout the entire game. You do a ton of damage. This hero is just amazing in a lot of ways. And then you just have to play around the nighttime. And that's really not that hard these days. It feels like your ultimate is always up. Even if it's 130 seconds, it feels like you always have nighttime or your ult. And if you don't, that's fine, because usually you win a team fight with this. Like, it's daytime, you pop it, you win a team fight, and then it doesn't really matter that it's on cooldown for like 2 minutes, because, they're respawning, and then you have a little bit of downtime, but then you're, ults right back up, or it becomes nighttime again. So this hero is just really, really good all around. It's just so good in so many different ways, and I think the weakness that it has, which is the daytime weakness, is not that big of a deal anymore for a variety of reasons. So it's just getting picked a lot, and it's getting a very high win rate too, so that's why I put it up there. So that's S tier. A lot of these heroes, I think especially Spirit Breaker stands out and above. Maybe you could put OD and Night Stalker below, or maybe even Night Stalker below and keep OD up there. I don't know, but I think these heroes are just far and away the best heroes right now in the offlane position when you combine, pros plus pubs. Next, we're going to look at A tier. So A tier, these are all pretty much your standard offlane heroes that are pretty good right now for a variety of reasons in pubs and also in pros. And that's where we're going to talk about Legion Commander. Legion Commander is just really good right now for a variety of reasons. I think she's just good for the main reason that she's good in like all, MMRs and things where she can just dominate lanes. She's very, very good. She also can lock down heroes for a long time. She can pick off heroes like Slark, like any hero that, has some kind of survivability. She can lock them down for a long time. But then the other big thing is obviously her Shard is so good. She's able to, obviously purge stuns, purge a lot of things. Like Bane is pretty popular right now. She just counters Bane straight up. And then the Shard that is added that gives you that BKB. It just helps heroes like Wraith King. Like, you just use that on Wraith King when a stun is provided on him, and he's just, chunking people down for 1 billion damage. He's taking towers so quickly. It's so hard to go on that Wraith King that is popular as a carry because, the Legion's just sitting in the back. So not only does she do all of that as like almost a support hero from the offlane, but then if you allow her to snowball, which it's a little bit harder in pro level pubs or pro games, but in your bracket, you're going to be able to snowball with this hero, and then you become a carry of your own. So not only are you helping your team, but you're jumping in, you're isolating somebody out, and you're picking them off. This hero is just really good. Darkseer, I don't love Darkseer. I actually kind of dislike the hero. It's not one of my favorite heroes. I think this hero gives the enemy a free game in a lot of ways, but I will say that because a lot of the heroes now, like Medusa, a lot of the same heroes that have been popular for a while, even Wraith King, a lot of the heroes that are pretty good as carry and stuff are good heroes to make illusions with, and this hero seems to be very good in general right now. It just has a high pick rate and high win rate, so I can't ignore that even though I don't like the hero, so that's why I put him up here. But it's pretty much just simple Darkseer stuff, the same things as before. I think the actual punch though, that like the meme punch, the one punch guy, one punch man, sorry, the one punch build where you just stun them, it actually is legitimate. Like, it does do some legit stuff, it's a stun, which you can never count out. It actually does a decent amount of damage. Like, it's pretty legit now. You can't be counted out. So I think this hero is just all around good. Mars as well. Mars doesn't have the best win rate, but that's because he's being picked in like, fourth of the games or something. He's being picked like almost every game. If he's not banned, he's going to get picked a lot if you have somebody that knows how to play Mars on your team. This hero is just so good. He's also being picked or banned like every single game in pro level or pro matches. He just pretty much is banned or picked all the time. So that's why he's there. He's just standard Mars stuff. He just does all the same things that Mars always does. And then Marcy is here, actually. I'm going to put Marcy as offlane. That's where I'm going to include her in the list. I may include her as a support as well, but she's just very good right now. I don't think she's nearly as powerful as she was. I don't think she can play like all the positions like she used to in the very beginning when she was first released, but she's still very powerful. I think her laning is still very good. You can have these games where you just crush with her. I just don't think she's, nearly as OP as she once was, but I still think she's pretty good right now. She can just kind of toss you around. It's very hard to lane against her. When I play carry and I lane against the Marcy, I just feel like shit. I hate it. It's so bad. She just does so much. She catches you out. Even if you're a ranged hero like a Drow or a Luna, it doesn't matter because she just jumps on top of you, tosses you back, and then you just get killed by her and the support combo. So she's just really, really good, especially in pubs, I think. Next, we have Slardar. Slardar, it's kind of similar to Night Stalker in the sense, except he doesn't have that weakness of the day versus night. It's just one of these heroes that he's really good at laning, kind of like Legion Commander. I think he's just really good right now. There's also a lot of minus armor strats coming out, so TA is kind of popular, PA is popular. This minus armor and this ability to take Roche just can't be underestimated. I think Slardar's been on the rise. He's pretty good right now, very good laner. The biggest problem with him is he doesn't farm very quickly, but I don't necessarily think you need to farm. Once you get your blink, you're going to have a good lane almost all the time if you have a good laning partner that's not just going to screw you out of the first few levels. And then you're going to be able to, once you have your blink, then you go Ags, BKB, these kinds of things, you're going to be able to be a dominant force. And then you can even transition to more like a carry later if you actually are stomping the game. So this here is just really good. And then the next two, we have Tidehunter. Tidehunter, just another one of those, stable, good off lanes. I think he's just been good for a while now. He was good at TI. He's similarly good, just in the same ways that he's always been good, and he just has a high pick rate and a decent win rate. Not the best, actually, but he's just being picked a lot, especially in pro. So I'm just putting him up here because he's just one of those stable, good offlaners right now. Even though I don't think he's as good in pubs, he's just hotly contested in the pros. So that's just what it is. It's just Tide's very good right now. And then lastly, we have Kunkka. Kunkka's being picked a lot more as offlane and in mid as well. He's getting picked a lot more. He's kind of on the upswing. I think he's a decent offlaner right now. Maybe a little bit more of a mid than an offlaner, but still a very good offlaner. You have a good laning stage. It's very hard for a lot of heroes to, avoid your Tidebringer cleave and all that kind of stuff. And you just kind of offer the same stuff you do from mid, but without as much farm. But you don't really need that much farm because you just offer a ton of control, a ton of pick off and catching people out and all that kind of stuff. He's just very good right now. So that's A tier, and next we're going to look at B tier, and it's actually kind of like what I said. I forgot to mention this. Like I said in the mid video, is that I think the A and B tier are kind of its own section, and C and D tier are like another section to itself. And basically that I think A and B tier are both very stable off lanes. It's just a matter of which ones are a little bit better. And then C and D tier, they're just not as good right now. They're kind of crappy offlaners, but they're just on the rise or a little bit better. There's just a little bit of a separation there. So anyway, we'll go to B tier. We'll look at these are all standard ones you can pick. They're definitely pretty good, but they're just not as good, I think, as these, or definitely not S tier. And that is, first we'll just do Lycan Beastmaster, just the same kind of Helm of the Overlord build that was really, really popular back in the day, a few months ago. Still very good, but just not as good as it was. So if you can play these heroes, if they're good, you can pick them. I think Beastmaster might be a little bit better than Lycan right now, but still very good. If you have a good hero that you can use that bite on, it's also very good. But these heroes, they can just rush those helms and just be very, very dominant. The next we're going to look at Viper. Viper is kind of at a weird spot in mid. I don't think he's as good of a mid, but he can just dominate from the offlane. That's why I put him here, because his pick rate and win rate, they're not that bad. And because of that, I'm going to put him up here because I think he is a viable offlane. I think it's a little bit better actually of an offlane than a mid. Even though it doesn't offer a lot of initiation, he can just kind of dominate and crush carries and things like that. So I'm going to put him up there. He might be C tier though. It just depends. But I can't ignore the pick rate and the win rate though, even though I don't think it's the best hero right now. It just seems to be that he's decent from the offlane. So that's why I'm putting him there. Next is Enigma. Enigma has kind of been on the rise. I think Enigma is a little bit better than Enigma used to be a few months ago. I think people are just figuring out that like dominating the lane with Enigma's ability is just so good, and you can never count out the black holes in the late game, and especially because I think Refresher Orb is really good this patch. So because of that, you can just get this Refresher. You basically go blink, BKB, Lincoln's Refresher, and this here is just like impossible to stop. You just, unless you have a silencer on the enemy team, like unless there's a silencer, you're just not stopping these black holes, and he can just absolutely win a game solo, and it's hard to stop him from farming as well. And that's honestly the same thing with Doom. I think Doom can also sort of be a mid here, but we're just going to keep him in the offlane list because that's kind of his typical role. And Doom is the same way. With Refresher, with everything, I think Doom is just one of these heroes. You can't stop him from farming. He's going to get his farm. He can be pretty decent, pretty standard. He's just a good overall offlane. And that's the same thing then with Centaur and Sand King. Not in the same way where you're like just guaranteed to get farm and you have this big ultimate, but these are just standard good offlaners. Centaur, pretty good right now. Sand King, pretty good right now. They're not the best. They're not amazing. Just their win rates and pick rates are okay, but they're just pretty standard offlanes that I think offer a good amount. They have decent laning stages. They offer a lot in the mid game and in the later portion of the game. They just never really fall off. They just have kind of a consistent game all throughout, and so they're pretty good in that way. And then lastly here, we're going to look at Razor. I think Razor's at a really good spot. He can kind of play carry mid or offlane, so I included him in this list just because he can be an offlane and he can kind of dominate lanes and be very good, so I'm just going to include him there. But he's good for all the same reasons as he's good at the other positions. But not really mid. I don't think I included him in mid. Maybe I did, but he's just not as good of a mid because you can't really utilize that static link in mid as like you can in the off lane and in the safe lane. Next, we're going to look at Bounty Hunter. Bounty Hunter is, I don't know, I mean, it's kind of this hero that's not picked a ton, but when he is picked, he can be effective, and he can be very good, and he can stomp, and he actually has a very good win rate. If you go to Dota 2 Pro Tracker, he's a very high win rate. He's being picked a good bit, so it's kind of one of these heroes that I don't necessarily believe in him. I do like Bounty Hunter. He's very fun to play, but I don't necessarily believe in him, but I'm just going to put him here because of the stats. The stats, I guess, don't lie. I don't think he's very viable in pros, but hey, the pubs say what they say, and that's where he is. And then lastly here, Broodmother. I'm putting Broodmother at B tier. I don't think Broodmother deserves to be much higher, even though mid, I put him a little bit higher, I think, because Brood has been played a little bit more mid than offlane. I think before that was the difference is before when Brood was strong like 6 months ago, it was mainly an offlane here and it kind of built like auras and stuff. And I now think that the offlane Brood isn't as good, even though I think it's kind of on the rise. I think it's more mid Brood. You're kind of going more carry items and things like that. You're just trying to sustain and be very dominant in the mid lane and these kinds of things. So I'm not putting Brood as high on the offlane tier list as I am on the mid tier list, but he is on the rise. It's pretty good right now. So then the last section here, the last few sections, the lower part of the 50%, this is the little divide, I guess you would say, and this is the offlaners that are not as good. And then, like I said, the C and D tier lists here, or lists, are basically kind of a big group that I think are just separated by a little bit of a difference here, where the C is just slightly better than the D. I might be able to put Timbersaw. Timbersaw's the big reason why I put Timbersaw down here, I was thinking, because I was just looking at this, that Timbersaw can be good. You can actually stomp with this hero, but the problem is this hero's win rate in pubs is like, it's like the 5th worst or something like that. It's absolutely abysmal, so that's why I'm putting him down there. But, I'm just going to keep him there. Anyway, for C tier, Brewmaster is on the rise. Brewmaster has a good win rate, but just very low pick rates. That's why I'm putting him there. Batrider, I think, is better as a mid, just not a great offlaner right now, so that's why I'm putting him there, but still pretty good. Necro, again, I think Necro's a little bit more of a mid, but still a pretty good offlaner. Necro could even be a little bit of a tier higher, but the problem with this hero is similar kind of problem to like Viper. It just doesn't really offer much initiation. It's more of like a sustain hero in that regard, so I don't think it's that great. Venomancer, also kind of one of these weird heroes, needs to stomp the lane, needs to be a good game for Veno. I think maybe there was a game, when was it? I think it was a Chinese game that I saw, that there was a Veno that just did like 220,000 damage or something crazy like that. So Veno can be very good. It was a very long game, but Veno can be great. I just don't think it's the best, especially if heroes can kill your wards very easily. It just doesn't feel good. Next is Dawnbreaker. I think Dawnbreaker as an offlane can feel good, but it might be better to have a support Dawnbreaker. I do think she's viable, though. She is pretty good. And same thing with Pangolier. You can play Pango potentially offlane. It's just not the worst hero, but it's not the best. Based on win rates, it's okay, but it's just not, nothing special. And then lastly here, we have the D tier, which is Timbersaw. Like I said, I think this is a good hero, but it's just like abysmal. The win rate is just so bad. And then Axe and Bristleback, kind of your standard offlaners that were good like 6 months ago, they just got nerfed into oblivion. I think you could still pick these heroes. I think they're potentially still heroes that you can pick, but the win rates are just so terrible. I just think because of the nerfs that they've received, they're just not that good, but they're still viable. I think potentially they could even be C tier, but just because of the stats, that's why I put them here. I kind of would rather put them C, even B tier for like most pubs. I think if you're a lower MMR, I think you could definitely pick these two heroes, but just based on higher MMR pubs, and like pro level stuff, these heroes are just terrible right now, so that's why I put them down here. Next we have Bloodseeker, more of an offlane, but still not good. Bloodseeker's at just a weird spot. I think he's still sort of halfway decent and halfway viable, but just not great. Venge has really fallen off since she was like okay before. I just don't think Venge is good. If anything, maybe more of a support hero for like the swap and stuff. Phoenix, I think Phoenix can be good if you know what you're doing, but I still think Phoenix is more of a support hero. Not really offlane, not really mid, more of a support hero. Same thing with Abaddon. I don't think he's really an offlane as much, more of like a 5 position. Tusk, more of a 4 position. I think you could potentially play this hero offlane, but just more of a 4 position. Same thing with Earthshaker. I think just more of a 4 position. But still is viable as a 3 potentially, but that's why I put him down here, because more of a 4. Mag is just fallen off a lot since TI, just got nerfed heavily and now just is not nearly as good, so that's why I put him down here. Elder Titan, more of a 4 position, even potentially a 5 position, but potentially could play 3, but just not very good right now. And then Underlord, I think a lot of people think Underlord is absolutely terrible right now, and I kind of realize, Underlord isn't great, but against like PL, against some of these illusion heroes, against some heroes like Medusa that just want to stand there and you can kind of just trap them in the arena, it can be good. I just think this hero just, if you're not having a good game, if you can't push the tower in, if you're going to have a bad lane and then you don't offer much defense to towers, like you can defend towers, but I'm saying if you don't offer much defense because, for whatever reason, they can just straight up kill you, it just feels like a weird hero. His ult's weird, his Ags is weird, his shard is a little weird, just everything is a little bit weird with this hero, so I think it needs some changes and it might be better, but it's still okay. And then lastly, we have the F tier. It's not an Alchemist patch, but also don't play this hero offlane. DK at a terrible spot, really terrible hero right now. Just got nerfed into Oblivion. I don't think it's very good. Nature's Prophet, just not in a good spot either. Just a bad hero right now. And then Pudge, do not play this hero offlane. I think it's could sort of be viable. It's getting like better, but I think it's like more of a 4 if anything. 4 or even like mid, but I don't think it's an offlane. It's just not a very good offlane. You're going to get crushed in lane. So that is my tier list for offlane for patch 7.30E. Hopefully we'll have a new patch soon, but I'm thinking because I made this tier list, we'll probably have a new patch soon, but who knows? Valve, who knows when they're going to release a patch. It might be another month or two. But in any case, let me know if you guys liked the video, if you agreed with it, disagreed with it. Just let me know in the comments where you think things should be shifted around based on your feeling or stats or whatever. And if you like the video, like, comment, subscribe, all of those kinds of things. Consider going below to donate to my Patreon to become a patron or sign up for coaching if you want that. Go to my Discord, request a replay review, those kinds of things. Go to my Twitch. I usually stream there every Friday where I do replay reviews for free. So just go there, click all the links below, follow me, all those things. And as always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.